Charlie Kirk gives some horribly stupid opinions and just outright lies in this debate to defend them. He demonstrates very clearly that he doesn't understand not only taxes, but Trump's agenda or how a bill becomes a law.
One point we did not address is the deficits and the debt. So if you can just address that in your response as well.
I mean, you're going to find no disagreement that the debt and deficit is one of the most urgent issues of our time. And look, President Trump has submitted budget after budget to Congress that would balance over 5 to 10 years.
Ooh, that's a pretty rough clip there, buddy. So far, Trump in his second term has managed to cut basically nothing. Doge was a catastrophic failure. He increased our defense spending, again, passed permanent tax cuts for the rich, again, temporary ones for the poor, again, and is blowing up the deficit, again.
And look, Kyle and I will agree on this. One of the ways that we can balance our budget is ending these silly and reckless and morally objectionable foreign occupations of countries that we shouldn't be in. We can agree on this.
Damn, this is absolutely brutal. Even though we pulled out of Afghanistan, Trump is still increasing the defense spending. I'd like to add both libertarian and far-left isolationists have no idea how international relations works, but that's for another video. Let me know if you're interested.
And so, look, the debt and deficit, I'll tell you, we need dramatic spending cuts, and we need to, shrink the size and scope of government. We could talk about that at length. I think we're here to more talk about things that are happening in real time with President Donald Trump. I want to make 3 points about what Kyle said about the tax bill. Number one, Republicans in Congress tried to make the tax cuts permanent, and the Democrats objected to it. They filibustered it, and they never allowed it to happen. That's number one. So I agree that the tax cuts were not permanent for the middle-income workers, but it was the Democrats that prevented it from actually becoming permanent in the last 18 months.
Are you forgetting who made them temporary in the first place? Democrats were the minority. They pushed for reforms that would curb the increased Republican deficits, along with making the working class cuts permanent. You never needed them to sign on to your terrible policies. And guess what? Republicans just did it again with their big bullshit bill. How the fuck are you going to act like this isn't 100% on the Republicans?
Number two, you talk about corporate tax rates and the percentage of the budget. Well, for those of us that understand and have studied the Laffer curve, we're actually seeing revenues go up. We have record numbers of revenues in the federal government go up because...
Then why is the deficit growing?
Well, it's going because we're also increasing spending on ridiculous foreign occupation wars, something that I'm against. Okay, so we'll agree on that.
No, we will absolutely not agree. It was a combination of Trump's deficit spending and COVID. Also, he just skims past the Laffer curve to sound smart and doesn't explain it because it would prove he's full of shit. The Laffer curve is the idea that tax revenue is zero at both a 0% and 100% tax rate, with a peak somewhere in between. But the US is way below that peak, so tax cuts reduce revenue, not increase it.
We're increasing spending, but we're also cutting taxes, so I'm a big believer that we should cut taxes and cut government. So if you're going to, my philosophy is quite consistent.
Except for when you do basic math and realize you're going to have to increase taxes to reduce the deficit, and that most government spending is actually mandatory, necessary, or extremely popular.
I think that it's better in the people's money that when they earn it, it's not government's money to take it. But the second thing I want to make is this, is that the corporate tax rate, as it was lowered, so it was lowered from 38% to about 22%, we're actually seeing compliance go up. So you cited the 1950s. So the 1950s tax rate was marginally ineffective, two different things, but it was over 90%, right? And
No, I'm talking about the corporate tax. I wasn't talking about the marginal tax rate.
Oh, you're not individual. Okay, I stand corrected. Then the corporate tax was about 40%, 50% in the 1950s. But
Right, it accounted for 33% of all federal tax
Right,
revenue.
so now we don't have the numbers yet in, but it was 8% last year. It's projected to exceed over 13 to 15% because now corporations are complying with the actual federal tax rates, because that's what happens when you lower the tax rates. Less people put their money overseas, and more people comply with the actual laws on the book.
This is actually the part that made me want to make this video. This is absolutely backwards for two reasons. One, saying we should cut taxes to increase compliance is like solving murder by making it legal. Two, when rates drop, people dump assets to cash in, so you get a spike in revenue before it all goes away, and these compliant opportunists are never held accountable for tax evasion. How about more enforcement for compliance? Nope, Trump is gutting the IRS. How about closing loopholes and regulating offshore accounts? Nope, Trump did the exact opposite. What if we lowered taxes at the rate that we increase compliance? Never even suggested. He doesn't give a shit about compliance.
The third thing,
hold on,
I want to get to some philosophy really
I'll
quick.
let you respond just real quick. The effective rate went from 23% to 12%, so that's not true. The effective rate went down under Donald Trump.
Corporation or individual?
Corporate.
12% for corporate tax rate?
Yes, the effective corporate tax rate went from 23%
Good. No, I mean,
to 12%.
Should be 0%, but yeah, that's perfectly fine.
Oh, that's so embarrassing. He would know this was going to happen if he actually understood the Laffer curve and a 0% tax rate. But who will pay for the government? Charlie, are you an anarchist?
That's a very unpopular position. Please proceed.
Yeah, no, and I'm happy to elaborate on it. And this is the bigger philosophical point. And this is where Kyle and I will find no agreement whatsoever, respectfully. Is it our money or is it government's money?
Well, I don't know, Charlie. Is it our government or someone else's? I'm going to pull a Jordan Peterson here and say people are too focused on their freedoms and not nearly enough on their responsibilities. Every society places responsibilities on its members. In what Charlie would describe as the greatest country in all of human history, he benefits a great deal from the system and services provided by the government, whether or not he sees it. And as Charlie would also say, there's no such thing as a free lunch. We vote on what level of responsibility we have to fund the level of responsibility that we voted the government to take. This has to be in balance, because a stable country has neither too much nor too little government. The idea that liberty and social responsibility support each other to ensure stability is the foundation of our social democracy. And even if Peterson only extrapolates on this responsibility in this way as it pertains to free speech, it is in fact the missing piece of our political philosophy in the US. Security is impossible without stability. Stability is impossible without solidarity. And that's why pure libertarianism is anarchy.